Welcome to the Chris Beatties Podcast. That's me. I'm Chris Beatties, editor-in-chief at Grower Talks magazine. And in this series of podcasts, I'm going to introduce you to some of the winners of our annual Grower Talks Young Grower Award. I'm going to pick their brains about what they love about the industry, their daily challenges, their triumphs, their failures, best decisions, and their dumbest mistakes. And hopefully we'll get some words of wisdom from them too. I hope you enjoy it. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me yet again on the Chris Beatties Podcast. This time with our 2013 Young Grower Award winner, Isaac Brantingham. Isaac, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. I'm doing well. How are you doing, Chris?
Very good, very good. You are our 9th winner, and I just figured it out that we presented the award in 2013, July something, I don't remember the exact date, at an old event called the Ohio Short Course.
That's right.
You remember?
Yeah.
I do.
I was
the very next year, it changed to Cultivate.
okay.
It became the Cultivate trade show in 2014.
Yeah.
Little trivia question for you there in Columbus, Ohio, American Hort. But do you remember that fateful Monday evening at the Ohio Short Course when you were up on stage and you heard your name called as the winner?
I do. Yeah. It was pretty exciting. My wife had come along to that event and multiple great coworkers. And so, it was, before that we got to have a meal with Annabelle and several other folks along with the other contestants. And it was just a great experience. You know, the other guys deserved it just as much. So I felt really fortunate to be picked.
This is one of those cases where there are no losers. It's not a gold star thing either. I mean, it's always so close. You probably edged out the other guys and gals with like one clever answer on your essay or something like that. And you had a bunch of them. By the way, here's the article, everybody. If you want to look back in your archives, there's the young man. You haven't changed. Well, you've changed a little, but not a whole lot.
Right.
That's the September 2013 issue. And the quote that Jen Zerko, our author, pulled out was, "I never question why I'm here." And we're going to talk about that. First up, where is here?
Yeah. So the Riverbend Nursery is located in Floyd, Virginia. So we're right along the Blue Ridge Parkway, not far, right in the Appalachian Mountains. Crazy weather, beautiful scenery.
How far west of I-95 are you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Is it a long ways?
So we're 20 minutes off of I-81, which runs through Blacksburg, and about 40 minutes from 77. So those are
you're way west,
major, two major highways.
Beautiful part of the world. And the interesting thing is, and I'd have to go back and look at all of our young growers. First off, when you're named a young grower, the first thing that ought to happen is the job offers should come right out of the woodwork. Dozens of great job offers.
Yeah.
Apparently you didn't get any because you're at the same place today, 13 years later, as you were that. What went wrong, Isaac, on your career moves?
Yeah. So the offers definitely came in. There were lots of opportunities for basically, all over the country, Canada.
Really?
But we really love this area. I've always felt kind of at home and very useful at Riverbend. At that point, Jim Snyder, who started Riverbend, he and his wife, Julie, he was there, and I felt really valued and got to be part of some really big things there. And just never felt like I really needed to leave at that point. So
I love what you said, useful. You felt useful.
Yeah. It's good to feel useful, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. I don't think it's something that younger employees really think about. It's more like, what can I get out of the business?
Right.
It's not what am I, well, that is what you get out of it by being useful.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We have to talk more about that.
Yeah. So we've got a great community here. We've got a lot of family in the area. Our church is here, and our kids are very plugged into music in this area. So I think at this point, if I decided to leave, they probably would not come with me. So we'll see what happens.
There's no leaving.
They threaten that.
And you are head grower at
That's right.
Riverbend Nursery
Yeah.
still, and have
Yeah.
been, I think, since 2011. But
That's right.
you joined in
And
2006. So
yeah,
you've now been there. This is your 20th anniversary.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
20 years. Yeah.
congratulations.
And the one of the cool things about Riverbend, I'm not like the senior employee at Riverbend. There's multiple people that have been working at Riverbend for 20 plus years.
Yeah. Now, what does
So
Riverbend grow? What did you describe
yeah,
the nursery to us?
yeah. So we like to think we grow a little bit of everything at this point. So kind of the main product line is perennials. That's really what we have been known for in the past, but more recently in the last 6, 7, 8 years, we've added a lot of annual production. We do herbs, vegetables, we do trees, we do shrubs. Then the other piece of the business is live roof. So that's a green roof system that I've been involved in since the beginning when we started that in 2008. I've always kind of been the interim grower for that product. So if we didn't have an established grower, I kind of stepped in to do that, and they would always train new folks. So yeah, lots of variety, lots of different things. We've got
How
three
big
different
are you? How
locations.
big a
With
place?
that,
How big?
so the main farm, it's 120 acres.
Good size.
We're only able to really produce on about 60 of that because we're on the side of a mountain. We're terraced up the side of the mountain. So we have a lot of green space between areas that we can actually utilize. And then about 20 minutes from the main farm in another county, that's where we've got 40 acres where all of the live roof production happens. And then just in the last 12 months, we acquired a facility in Montgomery County, which is close to the second location. And that is where we've grown a lot of contract crops, a lot of annual contract crops, but we're actually converting that over to propagation facility. Um,
So growth at Riverbend in this day and age. Glad to hear it.
yeah, yeah, it's been
What do you
been ex
attribute that to?
well, I think there's demand, for the product, especially if you have customers who really see the value and the work that you're putting into it. There's a lot of people out there producing perennials. There's a lot of people out there producing annuals, but we try to do it as best we can. We put a lot of care into the product. We've got a great team of people here that's doing it, and a lot of really great customers that have continued to purchase from Riverbend for a lot of years. So, yeah, we one of the things is I think having the variety. We're not a one stop shop, but we have a lot of variety now that we didn't 6 or 8 years ago,
Yeah,
because we've been kind of adding to that so
yeah,
we could be more of a one
a
stop shop.
and who are those primary customers?
Yeah, so the Independent Garden Center and landscapers are our primary customer. We service primarily the Mid Atlantic region with the plant material, and then we have that same territory that we sell the green roof product into, which is live roof.
That's great. Traditional business, a big business, and an expanding business.
Yeah, yeah,
Glad to hear
exactly.
it. Now, your history is pretty fascinating to me. Do you
Okay.
remember when you discovered horticulture?
Yeah, so I was just a
It was
small
in
kid.
college, right? You were,
What's that?
let's see, you were majoring in engineering, and one of
That's
your
right. Yep.
roommates was
Yeah,
taking hort classes, and
it was that indoor plants class. Yeah, converted me.
we've heard those stories, but yours is not
Yeah.
that story.
No, I have always enjoyed growing things ever since I was a little kid. Just working in the garden with my parents and grandparents. I think I was probably around 10. Decided to build a greenhouse in the backyard. So my dad let me borrow. I don't know if he actually let me borrow. I may have stole it, but took the saw, the axe out in the woods, cut down some cedar trees, um, and then buried those in the ground and built basically like a 12 by 12 greenhouse. My dad took me to Lowe's. We got the plastic, covered the house, put benches in it, and put a kerosene heater in there. And then I just started growing. And I didn't sell a lot of those plants. I mainly gave those plants away to friends and family, but did sell some.
And you have
That
no
was
background, no history with the greenhouses or
no,
no professionals in the
no,
family that you're aware of.
no, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, from there, pretty early on, I guess I was 12 or 14. I said I want to go to school for horticulture, whatever that is, to be able to learn how to grow plants more effectively. So my son has got the bug too. His room is completely full of plants. His favorite stores are plant stores, and he wants gift cards for plant stores for his birthday.
That's right.
He
How
wants
old
to
is
go
he?
around the nursery and pick out plants off, that are getting dumped. for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So
How
yeah,
old
he's
how
got the
old is
bug too.
he? And what's his
He's
name?
9.
9, and what's his
He's
name?
9, Oliver. Oliver.
Oliver, that's
Yeah.
next generation. That's what we
Yeah.
wanna hear. Get him started, get him hooked early.
I know, exactly. He might be a little soccer star. That's his main passion, but plants are number 2 for sure.
There you go. There you go. So, yeah, and that story. So you never have known anything really other than horticulture, plants
That's right. Yeah,
for
I
your
did my
whole your
internship.
childhood and your adult
Yeah.
life, and you're still doing it. I'm
Yeah.
sensing no regrets. I never question while I'm here. Now remember,
Right.
this was you were 13 years younger at this time,
Yeah.
just a boy.
Yeah. Just a boy.
Has your mood or attitude changed since 2013 in any way, shape, or form? We've been through some tough times since then, you know?
Yeah. That's a great question. As far as how I feel about the industry, how I feel about Riverbend, and I don't think so. I enjoy it every day. There's more challenges, especially as the company gets bigger, and as you learn new products. But that's one of the things that keeps it interesting. Also, there's always new challenges, things to figure out, and that's one of the things I love to do. Is working with my growing team and then other departments to try to figure out how to do things better. Um, because we may be doing something the same way for 10 or 15 years, and I may have been involved in figuring out how we originally did that. But whenever we have new growers or interns or anyone come in, I always tell them, there's got to be a better way. So help us figure out how to do it better, because we haven't maxed this out yet. There's always opportunity to do things a little bit better, regardless of what they are.
Yeah. Well, you're hardly an old jaded soul yet, even though you've been doing this since you were 8
Right.
or 10 years old. How old are you, Isaac? Isaac, can I
I'm
ask that question?
Yeah, I'm 42.
42. Oh, you are an
Yeah.
old jaded soul. I'm sorry. I thought you were just 21. Well, one of the things, because I wanted, this is way down my notes, but you just touched on it, looking around and seeing things that need to change or we need to improve or whatever. Um, you said in this story, you told Jen Zerko that having the view of we always did it this way
Hmm.
is not a sustainable way to be viable in this industry. That's what you
Right.
you told her. How do you now at 20 years at Riverbend, how do you avoid falling into that same trap of no, this works, or we tried that
Right.
once and it didn't work
Right.
with you new young guys?
Yeah.
Is that even a
Well,
danger?
yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of people here that have great ideas, and so part of wanting to just entertain people's ideas is people like to be heard and people like to try out things. Not everyone has an idea that they want to try out. Some people are very happy just kind of doing whatever you ask them to do and doing that every day. But one of the things I really value in people and want to kind of see to fruition is, if you've got an idea, bring it and let's talk it through. And yeah, maybe after the conversation we'll decide, that's not something what we want to pursue, because yeah, maybe we did like pursue that heavily at some point. And so we kind of know where that leads to if we do it the same way. But people are pretty brilliant when they're given space to be, and they want to be creative. I like to be creative. It's nice to have room in your schedule to be creative. When you're kind of to the max and you're working, through that spring period when there's no time to do anything other than just kind of the routine things that help everyone survive spring and get plants out the door. That's kind of how we have to operate sometimes. But when there is space to be able to think through things more thoroughly and be creative with things, that's, I think, when we come up with some really cool things, and people generally, have a
Yeah.
lot of fulfillment through that
Yeah,
process.
we're going to talk about a little bit about hiring and finding good people, finding the next Isaac,
Yeah.
next young grower. It was I think I was interviewing John Terhesh, who was our 2019 winner, and he talked about how to identify creativity
Hmm.
in potential hires.
Yeah.
And so, is that something you value? You think even in somebody you're going to put them in a greenhouse, you're going to be potting plants and on the
Right.
end of a hose or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely, because people, in a lot of cases, a lot of times you can look at a resume and you can kind of see where people have been and what they've done. Then you start talking to people's references, and sometimes it's those odd things on that resume or those references where you're thinking, well, this has nothing to do with this industry, but I could see how this potentially could serve this person well in this industry. Um, and that's happened multiple times, just, kind of looking through hiring people and trying to find out, is this person, what are these people's interests outside of work? That's always a big part of my questions. It's not just what do you like to do at work? What do you do when you're not at work? Does that have anything to do
Mhm.
with the job that you'll be doing? Because, the reality is the majority of our lives, kind of like that honeybee analogy, we're kind of working.
Mhm.
So hopefully it's something that you can enjoy doing, and have a good attitude. And that's one of the biggest things for me. We can A resume is great, but I would rather have someone with very little experience but a fantastic attitude,
Oh yeah.
and somebody who's going to, put forth their effort and work well with others than somebody who's had all of this experience, um, but has an attitude problem. And that is difficult to see on a resume. And so it's nice to be able to have conversations with people and talk to people they worked with in the past. But for me, attitude is everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because on a hot Saturday when you got to load those trucks, if you've got a
Right.
bad attitude,
Right. Yes.
you've got
And
no
we
place here. You got to
at
you got
River
to you got to find a way to enjoy it.
That's right, exactly. And, a lot of places, well, I'll just say specifically for Riverbend, we love finding people that come in from other industries, maybe come in to pull orders in the spring and say, hey, this person has a lot of potential where we can maybe turn this person into an assistant grower and then move that person to a grower or a salesperson. So myself and the other managers and the growers, we're always looking for people like that. And we have several people who have been big parts of our growing team that came in to pull orders, as a summer job,
Mhm.
and it worked out really well and moved up quickly. So we
That's a great
we,
way to
we
that's a
love it
great way to
to
s
see that
to
happen.
find people in kind of a low cost way. If they can
Yeah,
start in seasonal, temporary,
right.
but you can look at them and go, "Wow, that woman is a good worker," or "That guy
Right.
is sharp," or whatever.
Yes.
We want more like him.
Yeah.
And if they aren't, then you're okay to see them
Right.
go at the end of the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
those folks are generally very grateful for the opportunity because it's one that they, in most cases, weren't expecting.
right. And that's also you find out that this is a hard business. Some people don't
Right.
make it to lunch the first day. I was gonna tell you,
Yeah.
John has a secret question. John Terhesh has a secret question that I've got to share with you for
Okay.
identifying creativity. He just tosses it out somewhere near the end of an interview, out of the blue. He says, I've got a project I need help with. We need to paint the moon. We need to paint the moon blue. How are
Uh-huh.
we going to do that? And then he just waits to
Let's
see
sit
how
back. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
evaluate this. What the
Yeah.
hell? you
That's a
know,
great
and
question, though. Yeah.
and a creative mind is immediately going to start. Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Right.
how many gallons we're going to need? That's the moon's
Yeah.
pretty big. We got to figure the
Yeah.
surface area, and you get
Yeah.
400 square
Yeah.
feet out of a can. Last time I checked, and we got to
Right.
get it up there. And
Yeah.
they're not thinking, why did he just ask me this stupid question? They're
Right.
taking on the challenge
Right.
of
Yeah.
solving this
Yeah.
crazy problem.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
could tell you would want to do that. You'd want to take on that challenge right now.
That's a great. Yeah. Absolutely. I feel I have a couple of ideas already. We should get together. It
I'm
reminds me.
45 minutes from the Space Center. We get Elon
There you
Musk
go.
hooked up with a
Yeah.
super heavy. We can get the paint up there. That's
There
not
you
an issue.
go. Yeah.
So I'll
That
put it.
reminds me of a statement on one of my favorite biology teachers made in college, and he talked about how, and this is somewhat related, but he would say, it doesn't matter what you know, it's how well you can BS. And so BSing is different than being creative, but just being able to kind of roll with something and being able to be creative and come up with something maybe when you didn't know everything about it,
Mhm.
but put out there what you know, and let's collaborate, let's come up with a plan.
Yeah. Now you've been at Riverbend 20 years. What are have you got some proud moments from your time there where you
Yeah.
kind of look back and think, "Phew, man, we did all
Yeah.
right with that one." Let's hear 'em.
Right.
Let's hear an item or
Yeah.
two.
I mean, I think some of the, there's been a lot of projects, there's been a lot of great crops, there's been a lot of, kind of accolades from customers or other employees, which has been great. And then, the award in 2013 kind of was a really cool thing. Um, but honestly, like every day working with growers and just seeing them like get things maybe for the first time, or maybe it's been a while coming and they finally grasp a concept, or they kind of have that successful crop that's been difficult. Those are the things that are really just special to me. watching people kind of get a hold of things and grasp those things and growth.
Yeah.
Growing is a lot about growing plants at Riverbend, but it's a lot about seeing people grow too. And
Yeah.
being there for as long as I have, I've gotten to see a lot of great growers, a lot of great coworkers just kind of grow in their positions and roles, which
Yeah,
has been
as a head
awesome.
grower, I get when did you realize my job is not just producing the crops, but producing the people under me, mentoring
Yeah.
people? When did that hit you?
Yeah, I mean, it was before I became head grower. I was kind of given a couple of growers just to kind of work with on a daily basis, just sharing information, just like a growing group does. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was early on. I think I've always been that way as far as learning something and then wanting to share that with other people, because I think that's a powerful thing to be able to share knowledge with other people that maybe haven't comprehended it yet. Maybe they haven't even heard the information. And in this day and age, everyone has access to the information. There's so much information out there, but it's not all good information, and it's not all child information. So that's one thing that we're trying to wade through as an industry and as a company right now. How do you incorporate all of this access to information into what you're doing to make things easier and to make things more productive and people's time more productive, but really kind of filtering through all of that.
Yeah, is that a cultural thing at Riverbend? I would ask you, have you ever worked
Yeah.
someplace else where maybe the head grower was a little secretive or closed off
Right.
or,
Yeah.
whatever? But it seems to me that corporate culture is very important when it comes to sharing and mentoring and growing everything, the
Yeah.
business and the
I, you
people.
know, I think as an industry, I think we're really good at sharing good ideas and good information. There's a couple of head growers that I go to often, just sharing ideas. And some of these guys we're in competition, as far as the end consumer. Um, and I'm sure there's certain things they wouldn't share and certain things we wouldn't want to share. But as much as possible, I feel like those guys are gonna try to be helpful, and the same with me. We want to see people overcome challenges if at all possible. So I think that's a really cool thing, and I think our industry is pretty good at that for the most part.
Hmm.
You
So
know, you, you can't.
If Art Parkerson popped over to you and said, "Isaac, I'm thinking of getting in the green roof business.
Yeah,
Help me out here."
yeah. Um, so I would say you need to go talk to corporate. The great thing about Live Roof is we don't compete with other live roof growers, but yeah, there's a lot of other brands out there that we compete with at this point. A lot of other growers, but yeah, we probably wouldn't. Yeah, we wouldn't share too
Yeah,
much. Just
you can't give it all
yeah,
away.
right.
And as one, let's see, the late great Tom Van Wingerden told me when I asked him, "Tom, why do you share so much information?" I had just spent the whole day crawling around his greenhouse looking at his brand new crane system
Oh
that he
yeah.
put in. I think it was about 1999 or something like that. And he'll answer any question. He'll show me the blueprints. He'll give me a
Uh,
tape measure. I
yeah.
said, "Why do you do that?" He says, "Chris, by the time somebody copies this, first off, they're going to be broke. Second of all,
Right.
I'm going to be on to the next thing, so they're going to
Right.
be one step behind me."
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like that successful businesses don't they're not really fearful
Right.
of
Right.
competition. They recognize that a rising tide floats all the horticultural
Right.
boats, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, Okay, you've got to have made maybe some not so bright maneuvers in your
Oh yeah.
time there at Riverbend.
Yeah.
Anything wakes you up screaming in the middle of the night when you have nightmares about it?
Probably two come like to mind right away. Um, the first was just not understanding, probably within the first 6 months of being a grower. We're top dressing some crops in the spring. I had a small crew that was doing that for me, kind of under the direction of that head grower. And I just fudged the math and had them like top dressing at like a 10x rate on several crops, which then we had to go in and kind of vacuum that product off of the plant material. Some of the plants got treated and we didn't know it, and so or didn't realize it, so those plants died.
Mm,
So that was one of those big things, and that's one of the things I tell my growers. When they're learning and wanting to take really small steps, is we're going to kill plants. We're going to try to reduce the casualties, keep those at a minimum, but if you're trying to run plants drier, control growth or control monitor health of the plants, we're going to kill some edges, and that's okay. We want to keep that to a minimum. We want to learn from every plant that we kill, but that's part of it. The other one was I take care of all the IPM here at Riverbend, have kind of on and off through the years, and I had prescribed some applications to an area. All of the containers of this specific type, this specific brand, had a big name at the top, and the applicator actually put out the wrong product at a much higher rate than it should have been put out. And I woke up at like 6 a.m. that morning realizing what could have happened. Luckily, we live on the property. I ran down to the IPM facility. The guys were out spraying. I saw the bottles that they had on the bench. They had grabbed the wrong bottles. So I went around everywhere they were and ran irrigation to rinse everything off because that product would have caused damage to the plant material, no doubt about it. It would have been Fido. It wasn't an herbicide, but it was an EC product that we knew
Mhm.
could cause damage, and it was going to be at like a 20x rate because of what it was. So those are the 2 main things that I think of.
Yeah, well, we've all got them. I only
Yeah.
spent 10 years as a grower. My wife was the grower, but she'd give me
Yeah.
instructions. But I once used some granular wettable powder, I guess lanate,
Mhm.
on a small batch of poinsettias for whiteflies.
Uh-huh.
Because whiteflies were terrible down here in Florida, and it didn't hurt. It killed the whiteflies and didn't hurt the plants at all. So applied lanate to the whole crop, but I
Mhm.
used a liquid lanate instead of the wettable powder. We had a giant
Mhm.
jug of it with an
Yeah.
oil-based carrier, and it knocked every leaf off of every poinsettia we had in the greenhouse.
It
Yeah,
hap
I still have
Yeah.
nightmares about it. It didn't hurt the bracts though. Crazy enough, the bracts were beautiful, and we grew a
Really?
very compact
Yeah.
poinsettia, nothing but red. We sold
Yeah.
them. So
Wow. Good for you.
we
That's
we
awesome.
salvaged it. That's why I now write about it, and you won't often see
Right.
me writing about pest management on poinsettias. I leave that
Mhm. Right.
to experts. So what's on your to-do list out there at Riverbend right now? What are you working on?
Yeah. So, summer is always just as busy as spring. Hopefully, the hours are reduced a little bit. So, my life kind of shifts a little bit from, focusing on crops really only at the main nursery and where we grow contracts a little bit more spread out over to the live root facility. That product kind of picks up. So that's where I'm at now. I've been at 3 different locations today. So I'll spend a little bit more time here. We are about to bring in some more help. So that person's going to help with this facility a little bit more. So lots of sedum in our future. A new product that we've been working with a lot over the last couple of years is sedum blankets, and so we can use that in multiple applications. So we're harvesting sedum, creating that product at the main farm.
What do you do with a sedum blanket? What's it look like
Well, it
and
can be
what's it
used
for?
for remediation on green roofs. It could be used for retention on a bank or put in the landscape.
Yeah.
It's basically sedum grown on a coconut fiber. We do that in just kind of a specific way with the special media. We can roll it up just like a sleeping bag. You can put it in a box and
Hmm.
ship it
How big
anywhere,
is
really.
how big is each piece?
Our standard blanket, if we're growing it for stock or remediation, it's about 4 feet wide by any length.
Yeah.
The blanket comes in, or the coconut fiber comes in 110, or it's 112 foot long. So we can cut that to whatever. But yeah, we're finding more and more uses for that product, which has been a lot of fun. That's something I've been working on a lot over the last few years, and
Almost like a
it's
giant
fun to
roll
see.
of sod, except it's sedum, huh?
Exactly,
Huh.
and we can grow this on very little media, because sedum, if you give it the moisture, you can root it into pretty much anything if you do it the right way. So yeah, just with my experience with growing green roofs, since 2008, we've been able to figure out a lot of things just with sedum in general.
Hmm.
So that takes up some of my time and probably will more and more as we move forward. I was working with the crew this morning creating some of that product, but um, yeah, my hope is in the near future, with more help coming along, to be able to really focus in more on some of the things that we do that can make a big impact as far as recipes on crops, just how we do certain things through the spring. There's really not a lot of time
Hmm.
for those things. So excited to have a little bit of bandwidth to be
Hmm.
able to focus on some of those bigger picture things.
So 15 years as a head grower, 20 years at Riverbend. What's your future look like? Do you envision where you want to be
Yeah,
when you're 50? What's the plan?
right. You know, I'm not really sure where I'll be at 50. That's a good question. But honestly, we're so happy where we are currently. Our kids are at an age where, they're 9 and 12. Emerson, my daughter, she's 12. So we wouldn't want to plan any big moves in the near future. Um, but yeah, we feel very, very happy where we are right now at
Sure.
Riverbend and in
Are
Floyd.
are
Floyd's
there opportunities for advancement at Riverbend?
not I wouldn't say immediately by any means. And honestly, I I love growing plants. Head grower is kind of like my perfect position, honestly. So I don't know where I would want to move up to or where that would be at this point.
CEO? No. President?
Uh, our CEO, he's been with us for several years now, and he does a great job with what he does. And really, he's the first CEO that I've really worked under because it's been owners or general managers.
Mhm.
But I've never really worked under another CEO except for him, and he does make the job look very interesting. And some of the things that he kind of gets into and gets to pursue. So I've had a lot of fun working with him for
Is he an
sure.
open book kinda guy where you can learn from him, ask him questions
Yes,
about
yeah,
why are we making
he's
these
been a
decisions or
grower.
that decision?
Exactly. He's been a grower. He's been a head grower. He's been in research. So lots of he and I
Oh,
can
excellent.
just talk for forever if we had time, probably.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So not an outside guy who's just a bean counter. Watch out for those in
No,
this industry, I can
no,
tell you
he's constantly sending pictures of
that.
things, out in the nursery. Hey, have you seen this? Have you checked on this? Those kinds of things. So
Mhm.
he's I always appreciate like his eyes out there because the growers are awesome. We're always trying to, do the best thing, the right thing, but to have another set of eyes out there that knows what they're looking at is
Mhm.
always very helpful.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of growers, a lot of head growers, and I think they really enjoy growing the plants.
Yeah.
Could they own their own business? Every one of them could, probably if
Yeah.
they wanted to.
Right.
They leave the headaches to somebody else. Plants
Right.
are enough of a headache, right?
They are a headache.
I always say this business is hard even when it's easy. That's
Right.
one of my
It is.
mottos.
Yeah, it is.
But now, so, do you have any tips for other head growers out there, younger ones, maybe just got promoted, starting their career,
Yeah.
who wanna be the best head grower they can, but what does that mean, and how do we do that? How
Yeah.
can I be happy doing it for 15 years?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think for me, part of why this has been sustainable for me is I really try not to micromanage any more than I have to. Which part of that is, having the right growers in place so that you don't have to constantly be worrying about what they're doing. So one of the ways that we've done that is through internships. Internships have been, and I've always kind of spearheaded that. I think we're the only department at Riverbend that's ever had an intern, and for me, it's great to get to know someone for a few months before you give them an offer because if you're working with a headhunter or just looking at resumes, there's a lot of question marks, when you bring someone in.
Mhm.
But I am very fortunate to have a team of excellent growers, and I can be here or at the other facility and not worry about what's going on there because they'll call me if there's an issue. So having the right people in place and not trying to hold on to things too tightly, um, because it like you said, it doesn't really end. It's always pretty busy. So if your mind is always on trying to be on everything, you're gonna burn out. So
And have you
having
basically mentored every one of those growers under you at this point now?
to an extent, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And
So
so
they're
and
all
now
kind
I've
of
got
hand trained by you to think like you maybe. Does that help?
and I don't want people to think like me necessarily
Uh,
because then I feel like that's poison. But to
that's a
have
good
kind of
point, yeah.
a baseline where we have a common understanding, and I don't want everyone to do it exactly like I do it either. Because if they're trying to mimic me, I'm only things are only going to get so good.
Mhm.
But people are thinking outside the box and trying to do things better. That's what I want to see, and people who are willing to do that. We have a lot of groups from Virginia Tech come out that I kind of host and tour around the nursery, and I just kind of remind them, it's really easy to be in the classroom and kind of hide in that class and not contribute and work with the professor and answer questions and ask questions. But I said once you get in the workplace, you can't do that anymore. So you might as well start it right now, in the classroom. Because I teach at this local at Virginia Tech once in a while, go in and do classes. And it's fun when people contribute, and it's fun when people aren't just, looking at their phone or looking at their computer trying to get out the door. And that's the same thing at Riverbend. We expect people to come in and contribute and be a part of the team. You can't just kind of sit on the back burner and not say anything or contribute, because that's not really what we're looking for.
No, that's great advice. So when you're talking to these classes, what do they generally, what do they think their career, what's their career aspiration? The kids that you're teaching at Virginia Tech, do they know?
Usually, yeah, not really, because a lot of cases they don't know. Sometimes they do, and sometimes those are the kids that will end up, wanting my email and wanting to ask questions afterwards. Um, and so when some of those kids end up asking if they can come out to be the intern, I speak with the professor, my contact at Virginia Tech, to kind of ask, how do they contribute in class? How do they, what kind of student are they? I don't care if they're an A+ student. I don't care, if they're a C+ student. As long as they're giving and putting forth effort, and contributing, in a verbal way, that's what I need. I don't need the absolute smartest people, but we need people, who are creative and who will put themselves out there.
Mhm. But do they still want to work? These young kids. We keep
That's
hearing
a good question.
stories.
Yeah. I don't know. I also asked that question of my friend at Virginia Tech, and I know the testing is a little bit different. People just, wanting to put forth effort. That is all looking a little bit different. We haven't really experienced that heavily at Virginia Tech or at Riverbend, because we're pretty selective who we bring in, and we have had a pretty, core group for a while. But yeah, that's something I wonder about, just with the current state of things.
Hmm. But you haven't brought in an intern and found out that they expect to carry a clipboard and sit in front of a computer, monitoring systems as opposed to
That
getting out there potting plants.
That has happened.
Has it?
And those are usually people that don't get invited back to be a grower. Yeah, because there's probably a great job out there for that, mindset and for that work ethic. But at Riverbend, everybody's pretty hands-on from the top down. We're all willing to get out there and do whatever is necessary, especially through spring. You'll see our managers out there on a tractor. Not as recent, because we're a little bit, in a better situation as far as staffing. But I've put a lot of orders in the snow in the spring on a tractor, and a lot of managers have. So that's the kind of attitudes we need: people that are willing to come in, regardless of the title, and just help get things done when needed.
Mhm.
As much as possible, we're going to have you do what is on your job description. But if needed, please jump in and help where there's work to be done.
Yeah. Any tips or tricks on how and where to find employees, especially just entry level
Yeah,
laborers who might eventually work into a grower position?
right. Yeah.
Where do we
Well,
look?
H2A program has been really kind of, game changing for us as far as kind of entry level. Um, Honestly, I don't think we could continue to be doing what we're doing now without the help from that group, and they've been absolutely amazing. We've been using
H2A. Yeah, more and more
H2A for
businesses are
several
talking
years
about
now.
that, even
Yeah,
small
so
ones.
we have a large group of those guys, and then, we'll have local people that come in, and apply for, a seasonal position, order pulling, whatnot, and we always pay close attention to those folks. And we have several long-term employees that, came in that way, and and they had what we felt like was needed to be a long-term, team player at Riverbend, and those people are here and moving up to bigger positions at Riverbend. So as far as in general, I think internships are one of the best ways we've found to get, really good employees that something about when you bring them in. So we kind of focus on that junior, senior, level. We really don't bring in interns before that level, just because once we get to know them, we want to be able to hire them within 6 months, 12 months, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, so that's been really helpful. And
Yeah.
then just, working with other growers who maybe, have had people that don't want to be there anymore, or they've moved to a different area. So just kind of putting those feelers out
Yeah.
is really helpful.
Yeah. How about running those internship programs? Anything you found out that works extra well for keeping them engaged, but also
Yeah.
helping you, get the
Yeah.
most out of them?
We kind of use the same format that we've been using for several years, in that, we bring them in and they're going to spend a few days to a few weeks basically in every department. The majority of their time will be spent in the growing department, working with basically, assistants, to growers, working with the scouting team. I think variety is really helpful. You don't really, for us, bringing an intern and just putting them on the crew, cutting back, spacing plants, things like that all day. They're not going to find a lot of interest in doing that every day. And that's not necessarily what they're going to school for, but there's value in knowing, how to cut a plant back properly and watching that plant flush out from that cutback and, applying plant growth regulators and understanding that. So
You don't just
variety
treat them like
kind of
cheap labor, in other words.
right, exactly. That is not our goal. We do a paid internship, but we want that person to come out of Riverbend knowing as much as possible about the business, about the industry. That person's going to, help schedule crops, work in sales, um, plant the material, work in propagation, and then also at the live root facility, be a part of that. So we don't do an internship every summer. We want to make sure that we have the capacity to really invest in a person. Because sometimes, like this summer, we're not doing an internship. We just didn't feel like we really had the capacity to do it. But next year, hopefully, we'll be able to do that because I think it's needed in the industry. There's kids that need to kind of check that off the box. Universities require that in a lot of cases, and it's great experience for them, and then potentially ends in us having a good hire.
All
So
right.
yeah,
Just a couple more questions. You've been there 20 years. They could have easily run you off after 5,
yeah, absolutely,
even in spite of it being a beautiful part of the world.
yeah,
What advice do you have to bosses out there to keep young talent like
yeah,
Isaac
yeah,
at a business for 20 years? You're a dream
right,
employee.
right. Well, I think people's personalities are different, so people need things, you know, different things to be happy. And I think that's part of it for me is, when I'm working with my growers, I don't treat like everyone the same as far as like how I interact with people. I realize people have different personalities, people have different, ceilings, people have different, levels that they can operate under different stress. So I feel like that's been a great thing for me, and that I've worked for people for the most part over the years who have valued me as an individual, and I wasn't just a number in the company,
Mm.
and really wanted to see me grow as an individual, and wanted to see me at Riverbend long term. Um, so I think that's really important. That's one of the things that I try to do for the people that report to me. Um, Try not to micromanage them any more than necessary. Train and train as well as possible, and then have systems in place, be monitoring things, but don't be hovering over them all the time because you're not going to get the full potential out of someone, and they're probably not going to be as happy if that's happening often.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the idea of finding people, creative people, and getting ideas out of them, because
Right.
we can't have them all.
Right.
You and I have something in common. I interviewed one guy just recently. We went to the same high school,
Yeah.
Jupiter High School here in Florida, and then we went to the same university. That was exciting. But
Okay.
what you and I have in common, Isaac, is if we have company over and my wife is showing people through the house, she will say, "Oh, you see this? Chris made that." And
Uh-huh.
you see that desk over there? Chris made that. Oh, yeah, he made the
Right.
TV thing too. And, I made the shelves behind me here. So, and
Nice.
apparently
Yeah.
that happens around your house.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite a bit. And now my son is kind of taking over that as well. Most of the things in his room, he and I have made, or he's just made, which totally changes kind of the layout and the organization of my workshop because my tools are never where they're supposed to be. Yeah, I think part of just being creative before loving to grow plants, I was making little things, as a kid. Little pinball machines, lots of bird houses, every type of bird feeder. But yeah, I love to create things, whether that be something around the house or trying to figure out how do we make a tool at Riverbend to make this job easier.
And I think Jen Zirko mentioned that in the story that you've actually made a few tools that are used around the nursery. Any you can share
Yeah.
with us that are like game changers?
Let's see. I have a couple of like dinosaurs around that the people like to make fun of that haven't been completed, but I'm still thinking about them. You know how that goes.
Send me a
Um,
picture. We'll put them in my newsletter. And
yeah, I'm actually working with our local high school. They have an engineering department. I'm trying to get them to take it on as a project, and the teacher's very interested in that. So we're trying to line that up because I would
well,
love to see them just finish the project.
well, we need ag engineers too, and
That's
we need
right.
maintenance people at our
Yeah,
greenhouses. And
yeah.
man, there's as much fun as it is to go into a greenhouse full of plants. It's kind of fun to slip around into the maintenance barn too and
Oh yeah.
check out the welders. And
Right.
gosh, if they're
Yeah.
exciting and have a Bridgeport back there or something,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then forget about it. All right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
you do. I know you do. All right, Isaac, this has been a great discussion. We are proud that you are one of our many young grower winners. There's 21 of them now, I
Wow.
believe.
Wow. It's
So,
amazing.
and we're scheduled to anoint, upraise
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
one this
Yeah.
July at Cultivate 26 Monday night. So everybody stay tuned for that. And in fact,
That's
I think the
awesome.
June Grower Talks, you'll be able to read 3 essays from
Okay.
our
Yeah.
from our next 3 finalists. So,
Nice. And I'll
uh,
be at Cultivate this year, so I'll make sure to show up for that.
all right, we'll hang out. We'll talk woodworking.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's do it.
Isaac,
Yeah.
thanks
Totally.
for joining us. And everybody, thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Chris Beatty's podcast. See you next time.